Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Vox Vomitus. I am your host, Jennifer Ann Gordon, the award-winning author of Beautiful, Frightening, and Silent, as well as Pretty Ugly and the Hotel series. Joining me today, as always, is my Vox Vomitus vixen. Today, my vampy Vox Vomitus vixen. I'm quoting Alistair here. Allison
it's supposed
Martini.
to be vivacious, right?
Vivacious, vampy, Vox Vomitus vixen. Allison Martini, author of the Bourbon books, which includes Dibs since September, Move on Melinda, and Climb the Salmon Ladder. Today we have the one, the only, the horror legend, the dark Nordic prince, Alistair Cross, here to talk not only about his latest release, The Midnight Ripper. I always say it wrong in my head. I'm always saying Midnight Reaper, and I'm like, nope, wrong. Midnight Ripper, which is the fourth novel in the Vampires of Crimson Cove series. Welcome, Alistair.
Thank you for having me.
You're like, oh, hey, I have to talk. I know. Right? Last time you were on our show, you were here with your writing partner, Tamara Thorne, and you were not on camera. You were.
It was 2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago, and it was like a mystery.
Ago, honestly,
I absolutely. I just have to say, I absolutely hate this. As you know, like before the show, I don't like it. It's
No one likes it, Alistair. We just do it.
I know, and so you know, I can see myself, and right now I can, and it's like all I can just sit there and No. I don't like it, but I realized that this is kind of the way things were going, and I was missing out on stuff. So I'm like, all right, fine, I'll do it. And now I even do like TikTok videos and stuff, but I just don't like it. I'm like,
see, I don't even do the TikTok.
No, and I can't figure out the TikTok, but you were smart because I saw you had shared the post that I made and then made that the TikTok. So you're like, look, it's a still picture and then it's dancing. And Elisa is saying, welcome, Alistair. Hi, Vixens. And Alistair, no, none of us like this. And this is why when Jen first proposed the podcast, she neglected to tell me I'd be on video. And I'm like,
I didn't even want to believe that myself, that I would have to be on video.
I thought it would just be me talking, and I'll talk, but I didn't think anybody would see all this happening all the time. And I had to like find makeup and figure out how to put it on.
I will say, I feel like when you see somebody, it leads for a better conversation, because of course we're like, ah, and you know, if we weren't on video, you wouldn't see that Allison is wearing amazing braids and I'm dressed like Little Wednesday Addams. Or a schoolgirl.
Yeah, on Wednesday,
and we did that in honor of you, Alistair.
Exactly.
And I just wore a like Navy SEALs t-shirt that doesn't have anything to do with who I am. I just didn't.
How is that your branding? I even have a pillow that has a black cat on it.
Oh.
I know. I do have a lot of stuff like that, and I even have some of the right clothes.
Some of the right
work, but
yeah, Crimson Corset, maybe.
No, none of that. But I do. But it's been a crazy week, like seriously crazy. I'm like flying, trying to get everything done, and I'm just like, you know what? This is just gonna. This you guys wanted this. Here you go.
This is what you're getting.
I think it is the best tip is to ignore wherever you are on the screen and just look at us and just pretend we're hanging out. And I know also we were trying to get good lighting, so if anybody does walk by, just wave and say, "I'm on TV, Mom.
I'm on TV, everybody. I'm famous." And the cats are more than welcome to be on screen. We're not cat phobic here.
Okay. I'm already fighting them, so
it's fine.
I'm already fighting the kitties, so it'll probably happen. So
that's life with pets. I mean, there are many times where mid-show and my dog goes crazy and I'm like, and mute myself for a few minutes while my dog is just howling at the Amazon driver who pulls up.
And I can usually see her do it, so I know to vamp and be like, and not vamp like this, but like just vamp until she's able to get chill out.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, if we hear the house sounding like it's collapsing around me, that's just my children. It's fine.
Well, if you hear it on my end, it's cats. So
similar. So, Alistair, you just recently had your fourth book in the Vampires of Crimson Cove series come out. Tell our listeners and our viewers a little bit about the series in general and a little non-spoilery stuff about the new book. if there is non-spoilery stuff about the new book.
I'll do my best. So the series is, obviously, like you said, vampires, and I kind of wanted to take
hot brothers.
Yeah, there's hot brothers because everybody loves hot brothers, but I kind of wanted to do a different kind of perspective on it. Some of my vampires have venom, and that venom is addicting, and X amount of it will addict you, and too much of it will turn you. And I really didn't intend to do a series. I wrote the first book and just thought I'm just going to write a vampire book. Why not? And it went over well enough that I've just now finished the fourth one. And it follows the two brothers, like you said, for the most part. And I really can't give a whole.
You're like, and that?
No,
that's it.
So I'll say this: the younger brother, Cade, is getting into. He's pissed. He's getting mad. He's lost a lot of people that he loves, and so he's kind of going after the monsters. And so that's what this one is about. This is about him with his mentor, who is a priest, Father Vincent Scarlatti, going after one of the monsters who actually used to be one of his good friends. So lots of tension and
I will say, like, when I was reading the blurbs of the later books, because I've read your first book, The Crimson Corset, and I read the very beginning part of. I'm like, that was a cat. A ghost. Okay.
I did my best.
So I've read the beginning of The Silver Dagger. So then I went and read the blurbs for the other two books, and I'm like, oh, I can see that things definitely took a turn.
Yeah.
For some characters that I was very close to.
They're all
personally.
The first book was just kind of, full, story, and I didn't really know I was going to do that. And then when it kind of went into a series, I'm like, oh boy, this means some people are going to have to die, and
some like so you took Kill Your Darlings to like the actual level of what am I going to do?
Literal.
I have to kill off some people's favorite characters now.
Right.
I even saw a meme on Facebook where it's like favorite characters, author, and they just are loading the gun. Like, oh, you like them a lot?
It's I know a lot of people don't like that, but it is kind of necessary, because if everybody's happy, be honest, if everybody's happy,
I don't want that at all. No, I wouldn't be dressed like this if I wanted everybody to be happy.
I was just going to say, that's a very different genre, and there's nothing wrong with it if that's what you want. But I don't think we would go vampires of Crimson. Everyone's happy there. That's just, it seems.
I know. Crimson Cove seems like the town that you go to when you just want to relax and hang out at a day spa, and then go to a weird vampire sex cult.
I actually and I'm going.
I would love to vacation there.
And I'm going, where is this, and how long of a drive, and can someone watch my children?
I feel like it's outside. In my brain, it was north of San Francisco.
Mine too, but I mean, me and geography
It is. It's basically, it is. It's up a little bit higher north, and it's closest to Bonnie Doon, if you know where that is. It's not too far from there. But I kind of put it up away a little bit from everything because, vampires running around in San Francisco, that's a whole different story. That's fantastic, but that's not this story.
That's a fantastic story, but I feel like that's Vampires Take San Francisco, I think would be a really great, fun, borderline erotica.
Oh yeah.
Vampire story, and or a rom-com, and it would be a meet cute where like two vampires meet weirdly, like in Chinatown. They're fighting over the same giant paper parasol because they need to cover up from the sun. Oh, somebody write this down.
No, seriously, I love it.
And have you not learned you're not allowed to pitch books like this? You will have to write them.
I know.
Right?
I'm like, I hope my agent's not listening. Paula, if you're listening, I don't really have the chops to write that book.
I don't mean it. Alistair, you go write that one if you want to. But
all right, I got it.
You got it. In all your free time.
Yep, that's right.
Well, no, you were saying you were flying around getting ready for everything going on this weekend. This is a crazy week. Are you in the middle of finishing other books? Are you traveling? Tell us what's going on in your life other than removing cats from.
It is the release of a book, as you guys know, and you're, pretty back to back with, whatever promotional things you can do. Plus, we are, Tamara and she's my collaborator. We're finishing a book, and it's right at the tail end.
And is that the book that you guys you've been writing it for a while? You teased it a little bit, and because I was excited about it, I want to say a year ago, and I'm like, come on.
I don't dare, there's a secret about it, and a reason why it's taking so long, and I don't dare say it because I'm not sure I can yet, but it is.
I get that 100%.
I know. I feel like this is what I have with Ben, that I keep asking, when can I declassify your book for people who keep asking, because they know I know, and I'm like, I have not been given permission to do anything. Jennifer.
I know.
I know. So it's like you get, and it's so hard to do interviews.
Exactly. But no, there's a very good, it's called Spite House. And there's a very good reason why it's been taking so long. And that's, I guess, all I can say.
That's great.
But yes,
I love that.
It'll be done like within, I would think, a couple months tops, because we're really at the end, and then we got to start, revising. But that's been crazy because we're behind, schedule on that. And, plus there's, another project that I also can't talk about. I really need to, that kind of needs to be done kind of now. And so we're working on that. It's crazy. It's so
it's been novella rom-com.
Yeah, it's a Christmas novel.
Exactly. You got to get it out, because then the meat
got to be out by Thanksgiving.
I know, right? Yeah.
Hot cocoa laced with blood.
But yeah, just very, very busy, and I also, of course, have to start thinking about the next book, which will probably be, well, I kind of already have started a little bit, just on the sly, just a little here and a little there, which will be the next book in the Vampires of Crimson Cove, because there's some stuff I really want to wrap up so I can move forward with some other stuff, if that makes sense.
That does make sense.
Do you think the fifth would be the ultimate in the series, and that you're going to tie it up and or just blow up the entire town?
I'm just going to keep going as long as people are still
paying. Yeah, I'm like, as long as they're giving me money.
It's I've always heard, if you're going to do this, a series is the way to go as far as a business perspective, and I'm finding that to be quite true. I've been very lucky in that every book I've done has outsold the one before it, and also each time I do a new book, especially in that series, people go back and get the earlier ones in the series. And for the first time with The Midnight Ripper, which is book 4, it's I'm also doing some promo stuff too, of course, but for the first time ever, all 4 books are in Amazon's bestseller right now. And so I'm like, that's fantastic. So I can't, and I do love the story, but it would be really hard for me to say, well, I want to go write, a book about, a sea monster or something. You know what I mean? When it's like, this is really gaining momentum.
Turtle, so I feel like we were definitely on the amphibian.
Right. Exactly. It's picking up momentum. It's going really well. And I think even more importantly than that, I'm at a really pivotal point in the story where I really am excited to see what's going to happen next, because you don't always really know.
And especially, I think, from just what you teased with, the character growth from page 1 of the Crimson Corset with Cade, and then him becoming somebody who has all this anger and is basically a monster hunter. That's a very different, that's a huge journey. And I can understand, because I read some spoilers, why he ended up there.
Yeah. And you kind of have to do that. I wanted him to go through more than anybody should have to go through, because unfortunately you can't, there are a few things that take time, and one of them is character development like that. How do you take this awkward, clumsy, geeky almost kind of immature, young guy and make him into a badass. Well, two things. First of all, you need to develop his character. He needs to have motivation to do that. And then there's the learning, how do you learn to, slay monsters? And so
he's not Buffy. He's not born with like a special skill.
Exactly. Exactly. And you can't, I hate it when they do that. It's like you don't get to see, I mean, if I'm reading a series, I'm in it for the long haul. So I want to see these characters learn how to do what they're doing. I don't want to just pick up, book 3 and all of a sudden, little Sally now knows how to, go hunting werewolves at night. And
I know.
Yeah.
No, and I'll say I read a series, or actually only read the first book in this series, and that's part of the reason why is a girl finds out she has like the ability to do some kind of slaying. It was pitched kind of like a Buffy meets this other thing, and it completely skipped forward in time past all the time where she would have learned and trained in any of that. And I really found I missed that because it didn't really show us, well, how did we get here? And I don't feel any connection between the preamble and then this. And in that case, I almost would have not wanted to have that prologue at all and just start with where she was there, because if I wasn't going to see the growth, what's the point?
See, and I'm a sucker for an origin story. Like that's why they keep retelling Batman over and over again, because what's really interesting.
That's all.
Yeah, but it's really interesting to watch him train.
Every leading man has had a chance to play him. That's all.
Every single one.
Let everyone have a turn.
but no, it's true, because I believe and I'm speaking from my own standpoint, and I think it's probably true for a lot of
training to be a monster hunter.
And it's yes,
and it's taken years.
This is very autobiographical.
I wasn't born this way. I killed my first vamp only a week ago.
One of the things that keeps me, one of the things that invests me in any book, especially a series, is the characters. And the way I get attached and connected to the characters is through that growth and that process. So I think that's kind of necessary. I don't really believe in just skipping ahead like that. Sounds like that book that you read did. I don't like that.
Yeah, no, especially if it's like if like a true like hero's quest, and we're watching somebody gain a skill that will allow them to fight a monster. I want to see them get their ass kicked more than once, because
exactly.
And I will say there were some interesting ideas in there, but it also felt kind of light on the lore, and I wanted to see that, because part of the reason we read books that have monster hunters and vampires and things like that is we love the lore. So it's like, spread on the lore and let us go dwell in it for a while. Don't just be like, okay, well, we assume you know that, so move forward. Like, no, let me see. Let me marinate in that.
And especially because every author has a different take on it too.
Yes. Okay, so you and the Venom. I wanted to get back to that. Not Venom like the Marvel, Sony, whatever. But the Venom in your stuff with that. I read that. I'm like, Venom, what am I reading here? Because that threw me for a second, because that was when I got, okay, this is Alistair's take on what vampires are like, and that they have this different thing that addiction process. And I loved how you brought that into it, because it gave it that different spin. Because when we first meet some of the characters there that are acting a little twitchy, might be meth, who knows, that is the thing.
Might be meth, might be totally addicted to vampire blood.
Could be both. Who knows? It's kind of a creepy little place. Everyone has nothing else to do, so you might as well dabble in both. But I like that you had that, because it tipped your hand early on. Okay, this is not just going to be like, all right, just take the stock of this is what vampires do, check all the boxes, and having that presented there. And even just seeing from the start that there were different ways, even within the same community, that vampirism was going to be presented. I love that too, because I feel like a lot of times you're like, here's your vampire, and it's one, and it's monolithic.
Yeah.
Right.
Where you check the boxes.
I've always wondered how do you, I mean, like, really scientifically, how does a person become a vampire? It makes no sense. It's impossible, obviously. And it's funny how the different ways.
Well, I don't know, Alistair, you don't seem to age very much in photos of you.
He is currently in daylight, though.
That's sunlight. I'm in the sunlight. Yeah.
Like, I'm in actual daylight. Jennifer, you're the one who has some questionable.
That's right.
I know. I live in a house that has shutters that go over all of anything that allows light.
I wonder why that was designed that way.
Truly, I live in a vampire house.
It's fine. Yeah, the science behind it is funny because I these are the stupid things I lay in bed thinking about is like, if a werewolf gets pregnant, what happens when they transform? Because can they just not transform while they're pregnant? What happens to the womb? Does it just move around? What happens?
I wrote a story about that, about what if the
werewolf?
baby was a werewolf, like,
oh, the baby's a werewolf?
Yeah.
Right?
Was the mom
and like, how does it, so like, it was like, my whole take was, is the baby a werewolf? Is the woman, you know, suffering a miscarriage? She believes the baby is a werewolf for reasons. Reasons that totally make sense because it's horror.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, the mom's not a werewolf, the fetus is. And I'm like, great, that's a bang up idea.
Story, the feral fetus.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I know, right?
The feral fetus.
I'm not allowed to title things. This is exactly.
I'm like, the feral fetus.
So Alistair, you were thinking scientifically, the venom, and then how that plays into the process, and what did you come up with there, and how did we get from, like, because I've never seen a take on vampires with venom, and as soon as I read that, I'm like, snakes.
That's exactly where it came from.
Yeah.
I
retractable fangs.
Kind of, yeah. I was like, what does venom actually do? And of course, I went down the the snake rabbit hole, and that's kind of where it kind of came from. And I gave it properties that are like heroin or meth, or, you know, because otherwise they just bite you and you, like, I don't know, like it's a virus. I'm not sure. I don't understand how it happens. So to me, it seems like it should kind of have to be a process. But at the same time, they could release, you know, a whole, you know, bunch of venom and kill you, and that's in your system, and that's when you become it. But I like the process of becoming one more slowly, because then you deal with addiction, and then this vampire becomes like your drug dealer, and it's kind of a drug story. Now that
it is really a drug story, yeah. It was like a drug story for drugs. You didn't know that, Alistair? That's what I thought it was about.
You know, it's like basically like, yeah, like they're you know, they keep coming back for more little doses of venom, and the more venom they give them, the more it ties them to that vampire.
I also feel like it gives the vampire an out too. If the vampire is like, ooh, this is a very annoying person,
I don't want to turn you.
So I don't want you to be turned. Like, what if I'm stuck with you forever?
I deal with that in the Midnight Ripper, believe it or not. I have a vampire who is dealing with somebody who is a very irritating person to him, and he kind of wants to buy his silence. He needs that loyalty, so it's like, inject just a little bit, so you have a little bit of influence over them. But this guy really annoys the hell out of this other guy, and so it's like, how far are you willing to go? You know,
are you sure we just shouldn't kill him? Because it seems like it's
you can always just snap somebody's neck, you know.
Right?
At some point, it's just the balance. Well, and it's interesting you talk about it as a drug, because I've seen magic, or like witchcraft magic, portrayed as a drug. I know Buffy did that, and then even for a while the stuff for magicians was saying magic is a drug. I'm like, why is magic always a drug? So I like to say that everything's a drug. Vampire stuff's a drug. Probably
everything can be. Anything, and you can get addicted to anything. You could get addicted to going to the gym and working out and things that are healthy, but I know. No, I mean, I can't, but I've heard people can.
Do you know how many times I think I've texted you like, I'm at the gym and I don't want to be here?
And I've usually been responding with, I think I've given up working out. Like, I've worked out for like 20 years, and now I'm like, what if I stopped?
Right.
What would happen?
I have heard that working
you were
out
like a dancer and everything, weren't you?
I was a full-time dancer pre-COVID. Now I'm a part-time dancer now. I did my time. Look, I was in shape for a long time. I don't need to be in shape anymore.
The only thing I will say is, first off, I need to be in good enough shape that when the zombie apocalypse comes, I'm able to outrun at least the slow-moving ones. I'll never get past the fast ones. But also, I've heard good stuff about how it's supposed to prevent dementia, and I'm already losing my mind. So if I can maybe balance that with being on the rowing machine, which I can't do because it hurts too much, but if I can do that and help this, I'm never not going to be shaped like a potato, but I can at least be a happier potato with a brain.
You know what the best is? I'm saying this from experience. My favorite is weightlifting. I love lifting weights. I do it like 6 days a week. And it's so, I know I'm one of those annoying people, but I like it. Like, it's so much better.
This is a total thirst trap, Alistair. You're like, I just am at the gym 6 days a week, ladies. I'm like, can you even see me in my little weird arms?
You got the little black covering them, and then they fade into the background. There's the white arms. Move the black sweater to the white muscle. You have way more muscle than I do.
See, look at you. Yeah, no, you guys both. You guys both. There's a lot of that's some good muscle tone. But
I get mine for lifting up a dog.
But I've been trying to monitor my progress, and according to the very broken scale in the gym, I've lost 100 pounds.
I'm negative 40 pounds.
I know.
Now.
I'm like 52 pounds. I'm like, I don't think this works, but I kind of don't want to report it because maybe somebody's using that right now and is feeling really good about themselves.
Right, and it's motivating them to keep moving forward.
Exactly.
Right.
No, I'm like,
but no, try if you hate exercise and you're running on treadmills and doing things like that, try weights because it's just I don't know, it's just more it's more
like
rewarding.
Weights, and I do like weights. I'm fine on the recumbent bike because then I'm just texting Jen. But I really do like the rowing machine, but my physical therapist when I was messing up my back and my hips was like, you can't do that. And I thought it was for a while, but apparently it was just, you can't do that. So
period.
I start hurting within a couple minutes. I'm like, but this is the only thing I like doing. But I just keep doing it anyway.
Now this has become workout corner.
Sorry, and I'm clearly not addicted to any of that because I'm still there against my will. I'm like, I'm developing healthy habits or something, and I'm bribing myself that if I do it long enough, I'll upgrade to the membership that lets me swim, and that is something I actually like to do. So we'll get there.
I love swimming. I love swimming. Yeah.
So, are you addicted to lifting weights? Are you addicted to anything, Alistair? Since we're talking about addiction.
I am, believe it or not, I'm a total addict. And I don't mean like I'm like on drugs right now.
Right. What I mean, you're addicted to cats. Yeah, I'm addicted.
What I mean is I am one of those personalities that just overdoes everything. I'm addicted to writing. I'm addicted to weights. I don't drink and I don't smoke, and I've always been terrified of drugs, so I'm very lucky. I'm addicted to food. If I didn't work, that's one of the reasons I work out. If I didn't, I'd be
I would be.
I'm like, if one cupcake is good, give me 7. Like for real. It's bad.
I know. Why eat one piece of pizza when there are so many other pieces of pizza in that box?
Exactly.
Single serving. There it is.
I know.
Anything's a single serving if you try hard enough.
That's right.
Just throw up. I couldn't do that. That would not be good. No, but I mean, I think that's interesting. I'm terrified of drugs because I do know I've had some people say, they enjoy some of the physical benefits of things from marijuana. And I'm like, I know that I would end up the crazy paranoid person, like hiding under stuff going, the bugs are out to get me. So I stay away from that because, again, the terror of possibly things going wrong. And the food addiction is real. But here's the thing. We all actually do need to eat. You can't just be like, well, I'm just going to go cold turkey on food.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And, and I'm with you, and I actually I'm grateful for marijuana, and I'll tell you why. I was that person that I hated it so much. I think I did it like a couple times when I was a teenager. Hated it so much that I'm like, there's no way I can handle anything else. There's no way I'm going to be okay on crack.
It's the gateway drug.
If I started crying when I smoked a joint, I'm never going to be able to do it. See, that's I knew people who did like harder drugs, and I'm like, remember that time I smoked pot and I held my asthma inhaler in my hand for 6 hours because I thought for sure, even though I wasn't wheezing, I would have an asthma attack that was so bad I would have to go to the hospital.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't have done that.
Everyone's like, you can put the inhaler down, you're fine.
Exactly. So it's yes, I have an addictive personality, but I also have an aversion to most horrible things that will kill me. So I'm very lucky.
Yeah. Well, and if
that's a good combo.
If I liked drugs or if I liked pot, I promise you I'd be stoned all day. Yeah.
I feel like if you liked pot and had an addictive personality, you would not have. How many books do you have out? Including the ones that you have co-written with Tamara Thorne.
This is Alistair.
You don't have a small body of work. I know. Like, remember that time Alistair wrote a sentence and then fell asleep for 10 years?
I have to say, I actually have always kind of, now that I'm older, I don't care so much. But when I was younger, I actually kind of sometimes felt like I was kind of missing something because everybody's like, oh, it's so fun. And I'm like, and everybody's like, oh, relax. And I'm like, I don't relax. When I do it, I'm crawling off the walls.
But I don't relax with anything. So wouldn't it be nice if there's something that did make me relax?
I know, right?
Yeah, I know. Like massages.
Yeah, that's true.
Prescriptions.
Exactly. I get giggly sometimes. Like, I think it was like the first time I had this really nice treatment at a massage, and I was years ago, and my dad had gifted my mom, my sister, and I these treatment packages, and it was one where it had a full body wrap that was aromatherapy, and then they would like unwrap your shoulders and do a shoulder massage, and unwrap your feet and do a foot massage. I was laughing so hard because I'm like, this is a blanket, like a pancake. I'm a pig in a blanket. And I couldn't stop thinking about being a pig in a blanket because it was warm and moist that I felt like I was in, like I am the sausage in the blanket. And I'm supposed to be relaxed, but I'm just laughing at the whole process. And I think that the person thought it was crazy.
They're probably very used to it because I had a massage once and cried the entire time, like open scream weeping. And the person was like, it's okay. This is very normal. Like,
so normal.
She like touched a knot in my shoulder and I was like, and I'm like, and then I was like, get your crap together. It's a massage. No.
You know what?
No. I just wept into the donut pillow.
I did a massage once and threw up afterward. I don't know why.
That's that's really common because they end up hitting certain things either in your lymph system or whatever, and it just triggers.
I don't know what it was, but as soon as we were done, I'm like, okay, thanks, that's great. And I go and sit down and I'm like, I don't feel so hot. And it's just like it was awful. And I'm like,
I feel like this interview is the three of us being like, okay, here's why we have to be writers because we're not meant for the real world.
You're addicted to writing, and I think that's awesome because the number of times I see people put on Twitter, are you a real writer if you don't write every day? And I'm just going, that is the stupidest question ever. But I'm sure there's people who are like, I have to, or I get twitchy. And I know I'm like that, but there's so many times I can't because of life. I just get twitchier. But it sounds like because you actually are a writing addict. How does that impact your actual writing career? Because those two things, there might be times where like, I can't because I have to do the editing part, or does the editing part satisfy it? Or is it like, no, if I'm not actively creating something new, I start going jonesing for the keyboard?
If I go for too long, I miss ideas. I get these great ideas and then I don't get them down, and then I'm not happy.
And then they're gone. Yeah.
And then they're gone. Right.
Because then you get back to the keyboard and you're like, what was that thing I said that was brilliant?
But exactly. It was so brilliant at 3 a.m. But but mainly what I do is I just treat it like a job. I mean,
because you keep a schedule. You and Tamara, like you basically, and I wanted to talk about this because I think it's so interesting. You like kind of like clock in, you work your hours. You're like, for these many hours a day, Monday through Friday.
Yeah,
we're doing it.
So Monday through Friday we get on. I want to say it's earlier than this, but it's actually about 11, sometimes maybe 10. But
it's okay. This is writer math. When you're like, first thing in the morning at 11 a.m., we are on the clock.
Crack of noon.
But
right after lunch.
Exactly. You better be there at the crack of 11:30. But either way, I do keep odd hours, so it is kind of early for me. But we get on at about, say, 11 my time, and then we work on what we generally do is it's like, okay, we work on the standalone. Well, we first spend like the first half hour doing like, extraneous stuff, like, the newsletter, for example, or if we, whatever. Then we go to work on one collaboration, and then we go to lunch. We do that for like a couple hours. Then we go to lunch, and we come back and we work on the other collaboration, and then we go to our solos. And then after we're done with the solos, we get off of Skype, and I go upstairs to my office, and I work on marketing stuff. So it's and then I try to turn it off, and I often don't. Like, I didn't know. I remember when I worked just a normal job. You go to work, you clock in, you do what they tell you to do, you clock out, and you're done. This is not like that. This is
no.
It's constant. And I love it, but
and
I
you
also
have
think
to you have to love it, or else
you do.
And you have to love weirdly every aspect of it. And I know there's aspects that we all don't like as much. Like some of us are like, oh, the social media of it. Like I have to be. But you're great. You and Tamara are really great with the social media. I look forward to your posts.
I was gonna ask when
does that happen?
No, when in your schedule you come up with the really obscure photo of famous people and then intentionally mislabel it just to make everybody groan. Like the one that you did
today was offensive.
I haven't seen today. It was the one of John Lennon and Yoko Ono, and you labeled them as Sonny and Cher. And
yeah,
that's right. I can't.
Okay,
the one today hurt my soul. I looked at it and I'm like, how dare you? I felt personally attacked.
It was a bad one today, but the truth is, I'll tell you I'm going to tell you the truth about how this started, and it's actually not very nice. It makes me sound like a not very nice person, but
it's okay. We're at the 35-minute mark, so people are like, oh, Alistair's a normal, humble guy. He can't even smoke pot.
I'm actually kind of a dick, and here's why. Okay, so
the truth comes out.
I don't know if you guys have noticed this or not, but no matter what you post on social media, everybody's an expert, right?
Yes.
It doesn't matter what you say; they come out in droves to let you know how wrong you are.
Mm-hmm.
So one day I said to Tamara, I'm going to post this picture of young Christopher Walken. And the first one I did was Sophia Loren and Jane Mansfield.
Jane Mansfield.
That picture where she's looking at her,
And I said, did you label it as?
Yeah, I captioned it, Liz Taylor admiring Marilyn Monroe's décolletage in Studio 54 in like 1960 or 50, sometime after I think Marilyn was dead.
Yeah, it was all the facts were wrong.
And it was everything that could be wrong was wrong. Photographed by Ansel Adams. I mean,
I feel like my favorite part is when, as a photography nerd, is when I get to like the point when you're just like photographed by Annie Leibovitz, and I'm just like,
yes. Sure.
I did it.
Pictures of the Weimaraner dog.
I did it exactly. But I did it in the spirit of, let's see how many people come out to tell me how wrong I am. And
I know, like, that's not Elizabeth Taylor.
I know.
It was a joke, because I feel like most people, like, even the one I'm like, this one hurts when you wrote the one that was not Sonny Bono, because then I had Bare Naked Ladies, You Can Be My Yoko Ono stuck in my head. Do you know that song? I love that song so much.
I love it.
Yeah.
So that was in my head afterwards. I'm like, no, because I can hear this song, but I feel like most people could just tell that it's a joke. But it's funny because they're more subtle than the ones, and I'm sure you've seen the nerd ones where they'll pick and then combine all the nerddoms and then attribute everything wrong. Like, Sauron says live long and prosper. And then it says, and then it's got a picture of somebody sitting on the Iron Throne, and they're just doing everything wrong. And it's like, ha ha ha, all the geekdom's messed up and just make them mad. But yours, I feel like, they're enough. They're first off, they're real, like they're real photos, not something that some actor's posing on. But then you do that, and then people are like, "Wait, am I wrong here? I
know. And sometimes they're pretty. Kind of like, spot on.
I was gonna say the Liz Taylor admiring, blah blah blah. That one, like, if you just glanced at it, you could be like, oh yeah, and then you're like, that's clearly
But I have I still laugh about it every day. Like, I get up and I'm like, who should I post today?
So is this part of the first half hour? Is this the first half hour of your day? Like, so Tamara's like, I guess I'll have to do the newsletter again, Alistair, while you're just like scrolling Getty images.
Well, and I think I saw one recently, and I don't think it was you who posted it. It was somebody else who posted it, because they were intentionally saying this looks like, and not saying it was. I want to say it was Mickey Rourke and his stylist, but it looked like a current picture of Zoolander.
Right.
Yeah. With dark hair, and it looked like Zoolander and that Hansel, he's so hot right now, and
right.
way older. And
yeah,
not what either one of those actors looks like right now, but it was just like that's.
Yeah, I saw that, and
really
I was like, that's mean on every level.
I just figure you can't do anything right. I mean, I could say, look, here's a picture of the moon. No, that's the sun. So
yeah. Well, technically, what we're seeing is the sun's reflection off of a dark blah blah blah. And you're like, I don't need a science fact right now, whoever you are, at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah,
right.
We don't need that.
I think that social media is just so full of experts on every subject you can possibly imagine that it's fun to. I actually get a kick out of posting very outlandishly inaccurate information, just and then playing kind of dumb, like, really, are you serious? I didn't know that. That's my cruel streak. I do have kind of a.
I think that's cruel. No, it's impish. It's like
no one's getting hurt. No one's
right.
You're not, and you're
I
not
was hurt
pointing
by
fun
today.
at anybody specific. Like okay. I got hurt with the Yoko 101, but you're not like singling out a person, or like there are times, and we will all admit to maybe sharing things privately that we might make fun of that we see someone else do or something else privately. That makes us, like, there are things that I share with some of my friends, and I'm like, I am a bad person. I am going to hell, because I acknowledge, like, this was mean spirited, but I'm privately doing it. I'm not publicly doing it. So you're not.
Allison and I kind of have like days long conversations. Like, our chat window is always open, so we're not on Skype like you and Tamara, but like at any moment of the day, I know I can just be like, look at this. This thing really pissed me off, and this person did something, and I know I have no right to be upset, but I'm upset for this petty reason, and I'm going to tell you. And I know she always has my back.
Yes, and I won't out one of my friends to say who this is, but if she's watching, I'm gonna out you right now, but without saying you are, has like a nemesis on social media. And
I know who you're talking about.
That there's a nemesis, and every time, because there's a person who has a social media presence that is 100% look at me all the time.
Right.
It's to me a little much, because I never see this person sharing anybody else's work, or even just posting a picture of a mountain or something. It's always, look at me, and it's just so much. My friend will just be like, "Did you see what this?" I'm like, "Yeah." How could I not? Because they're like,
because if she's at a coffee shop writing, she's posting 1,000 really amazing photos where she's like, sometimes I smile when I write. Sometimes I'm, and I'm like,
it is. I think we all have those people, and to me, that's part of what makes social media tolerable. You have to.
Yes, it does.
I am sure that there are people out there who laugh at me, and that's okay, because I probably laugh at you too. I don't care. That's okay.
And I'm okay with that. It's totally different, because like I will post dumb stuff that I know I look dumb, and I'm like, I don't even care. Like, I will usually, if I will try to take a selfie before the show as part of the promo to show after with the link. And sometimes I'll either forget, or I didn't get a good one, and then I'll look for a screenshot. And then I almost always am posting the worst selfie I can find. And I'll show Jen. She's like, "You can't post that of me." I'm like, "Okay, fine."
Well, what's funny is that really bad one that you sent that I went, "Oh my God, you cannot show that." I went ahead and sent it to the author, because I was like, by the way, I made this face while you were talking out of, I think, excitement.
Yeah. And that's just it, because like I will make a lot of faces. And for those of you who are just listening, you're missing out, because we are, I'm
expressive.
I'm just doing stuff. But I don't really care, because honestly, a picture of me expressive is still probably better than me trying to look cool, because I'm not. So I never quite worked. I tried. I don't know what to do.
That's the thing. It's like, you can get, if I do selfies, it's deadpan my face.
Yes.
I don't know what to do. Maybe I'll be really, really dramatic and do this. I don't know. I don't know what to do.
I know. I did. Like, I feel like it's been probably a year since I've done a good dramatic selfie, and it was like the one day where I'm like, I'm going to take a picture of myself in the mirror, but like looking to the side, and I'm like, oh, it looks like the cover of a YA novel, except it's like a really old woman. Except it's like, the haunted hag in the mirror.
Oh no, I was going to say it's one of those retrospectives where the adult tells the story of what happened when they were YA age.
That's right.
And
That's
it could be that.
Okay, Amelia, I'm gonna try to not botch your middle name. Amelia Valerio Chapman says, I love Alistair Cross. He is an awesome author. And then she's blowing kisses. Best of
Oh, thank you.
Thank
you.
I'm sorry, I went.
It's all good. But you know what? And getting back to the whole the social media stuff, we have no choice as authors. We have to be part of a presence. And I can actually say this now. I've been sitting on news. A friend of mine got a book deal. I sat on it for weeks. She called me at like 6 a.m. and I've had to sit on it for weeks because she had announced. But people were actually asking in the publisher side, like, how active is she in the writing community and in social media? These are things people want to know. And so we have to be, even if we're like, I don't want to be anywhere near a camera, we have to. So yeah, some of us are going to be like, I took a picture while I was writing my novel. I usually am more likely to take a picture of my food because I like food. The eating edition, like, ooh, avocado toast. Look at that.
But we all have to. And it's part of our brand. It's part of, and honestly, I've said this a million times. My publicist has said it. My agent says it. Like, if somebody likes you, they're going to buy your book. Right. Even if, because I've had a lot of people who are like, oh, I don't like horror. And I'm like, that's okay.
You're so delightful. I'm going to buy it.
Yeah, and I've gotten that at like the ballroom dance the one who's like, it's a foxtrot. You know, those people were like, okay, I'm going to buy your book. And some of them read it and were like, yep, not my cup of tea. But many of them were pleasantly surprised.
Because horror is so much more than people think. I think when you say horror
can be anything.
Slasher, and it's like, it's not slasher necessarily. It can't. That's one facet of it. But I don't rely on gore. And I mean, not that it isn't there, but I don't rely on it. But yeah, a lot of people, it's like, oh, you write horror. And I'm like, well, think of it as thrillers with more sex than you're used to. I don't know.
I'm always like, think of mine like it's Gothic fiction or literary fiction, except one of the main characters is dead. Or
or drowned sometime during your thing. Because that's
I love drowning.
You love drowning.
I shouldn't say like I love drowning. It's a trope that I love. Like even my husband's like, there's always somebody always drowns in one of your books. Is that ever going to change? And I'm like, no, because I think even in the background, there's going to have to be a news story where it's just like local couple drowns in quarry. And the main character will have to be like, how terrible. Anyways.
If you pay attention, I think all authors kind of have their own little thing and that's just yours. It's like a trademark, you know?
Yeah. I'm like, always look for the drowned person. Drowned brides are my favorite. Drowned brides.
But I think it is also true that like people will assume things about a genre that aren't necessarily true because they just haven't checked it out, or what they have checked out has been really limited. So I know I've had the same thing happen where, I mean, I write speculative fiction, none of that's out yet. And then I write romance and that stuff is out. And a lot of people are like, romance, and romance is such a broad genre that they put you in a box before they've even opened the cover. And I sometimes get it because my covers don't blend in with the other romance covers. I'm like, well, but my books kind of don't fit clearly anywhere because sadly mine don't have the naked guys on front and then the big neon writing and all that stuff and alpha bully romance. That's not what I do. Sorry. But it's not the ridiculous over the top cotton candy ones where everybody's cartoons and stuff. But I probably
the taming of the alpha lizard.
That's a good one.
But again, I've had people then read it because they're like, well, you seem cool, so I'll check it out. And they're like, oh, I actually like this. And then it's like, well, I'm
one of those people, Allison, who was like, I don't want to read a romance.
But you did.
And then I read it and I'm like, oh no, this is like real people. It's like real people doing real things.
There were no cartoons or black.
That's weird.
Right.
Yeah. And it was like, sexy.
Is the question. I think a lot of it just does boil down to most people who don't read a certain genre, whether it's horror or science fiction or fantasy or romance, they have false assumptions about it because they either don't read it or they've read just a little bit and they went, meh, not for me. And no genre is that monolithic. And I know that I'm like, I write fantasy, but I don't think I write fantasy like what most of the fantasy is out there. And it's like Brandon Sanderson, like I haven't. No, that's
they're like, it's going to be like sword fighting and elves and George R. Martin and a ton of like twins that want to bang each other.
Always.
But frankly, that's a trope I love, and I blame V.C. Andrews.
V.C. Andrews got a whole generation of twin sisters.
Right.
That literally.
We interviewed him.
Yeah,
isn't he
so was
great?
Alistair. I know.
Yeah,
I was just like,
him.
I can't believe I'm like talking to you, and
I know.
Please explain why all of us now have.
I'm like, you're the reason why I'm so fucked up in the head.
Right. He's
in a good way.
It took me a long time to figure out that's like, I didn't know that V.C. Andrews was like this big, incest thing. I didn't know that. I just read like 5 books, and I'm like, every time I was shocked. I was like, they're brother and sister. It's a mother and son.
I can't believe she had an affair with her grandfather.
I know. And finally, I'm like, I think this is his thing. Like, I think meaning I think each book, that's kind of like it's a reoccurring thing. But I was always shocked. I was like, still didn't see it coming. And there was one, and I don't even remember what it was called, where it's like, you're going along and it's following the story of this little, boy, and it turns out that it's actually it's a little girl, and you're just like, it's just that guy is insane. I love that guy. I love
and there's so many, like the classic, like written by VC books, the ones that are half written by Andrew, half VC, and I just remember, and I think this one might be like a half one where it was almost completed by VC, but it was My Sweet Audrina.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a really
you're
good
like
one.
You're reading it, and you're reading this whole like timeline, and you're like, oh, this poor screwed up girl. She keeps like losing her memory, and she's named after her dead sister. And then you're like, ooh,
yeah, exactly.
She's the dead sister. What? And she's like marrying the man who raped her, and she was like, you're like, what is this? Because of course she is. And why isn't her family stopping her?
I mean, they talk about trauma porn. I think maybe he invented the genre.
I know, and it's fantastic. I love it.
So I like rate my stuff like on a VC Andrews scale, where I'm like, is this relationship too inappropriate? And I'm like, I'm gonna go with no, because I think they're second cousins. Like stories in my head that I haven't technically written yet, where I'm like,
Jen, I've never noticed that in any of your stuff. I'm going, no, these two aren't related.
I literally have like
related.
All of these are probably like my Dagger Island books, and my Dagger Island, my big air quote, those are like my horror books that all take place, of course, on a haunted island, but it's a very small island, and I'm just saying the gene pool, when I keep going back in time, is smaller and smaller, because originally it was just a few families, and I had this like story in my head from like the 1600s, and I'm like, didn't I say during one of my other books that there was only 4 families on the island then?
There are so few things there, Jennifer. Right. But there are so few things that are truly taboo and shocking, and that's one. Brother and sister, mother and son,
don't do it.
Grandson,
don't do it.
You that will never ever lose its
shock value.
Yeah. It's just that's just so taboo.
Like you'll never be so desensitized where you're like,
but you're like, oh, come on, Grandpa, go after your grandson. He wants.
But I will say, like, when I watched Game of Thrones, I did very much root for Jaime and Cersei as a couple. That was, I know.
Okay,
they're twins.
I don't know anything about it. Are they related? I don't even know.
They're twins. They're twins.
Okay. We're womb mates,
They're womb mates.
Sorry?
They've been close since the beginning.
Well,
I know. I was like, they really have hot chemistry. I'm like,
I thought you were going to say that you rooted for Daenerys and Jon Snow, because when they first meet, they're related. So it's like, probably all right.
Yeah, no, I didn't root for Daenerys for anything. I wanted those dragons to turn around and just consume her. I was only in that show for the black magic and the twincest.
All right.
Like,
that's fair. Everyone watches for different reasons.
I know. And I liked the White Walkers. I'm like, okay, zombie people come kill everybody.
And this is
hot
why
witch.
I have to go to the gym to outrun the White Walkers.
That's
And I don't
right.
do well in the cold. So
That's right.
Yeah. This went off the rails.
were we ever on the rails?
I don't think we were, and that's okay.
No.
I mean, the reality is, Alistair, you have a new book, the 4th book coming out, and it's Midnight Ripper, not Reaper, but we're going to botch that every single time. And it's hard to talk about the 4th book in a series because you don't want to be like, hey, yeah, and that big pivotal thing that happened in book 3 that set the course for book 4. We can't talk about that with everybody going. So the point is, go read the first 3 if you haven't yet.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about that.
Right.
And Alistair has a whole host of other work, including Sleep Savannah Sleep, which is a standalone. You also have a book of poetry out, which I own as well. And I bought that. I'm going to give a shout out to one of your biggest fans. She's also one of my biggest fans, Patty Moody. She is a lovely woman. She bought my book of artwork. And as she was looking through my book of artwork, she messaged me and she was like, this piece reminds me of a poem by Alistair. And then she sent me the title. And then like later on, she was like, this piece reminds me of this poem by Alistair. It almost is like, like 5 times. I'm like, all right, I'm buying his book.
Okay, now I feel like what we need to have is an installation where we've got the work and then Alistair's poem next to it to be able to appreciate them together. Someone get on that.
Get on that. We could do like a PowerPoint.
No, not a PowerPoint. I'm not an art gallery. We used to run art galleries. I know these things exist. Maybe they don't.
I know. I used to work in an art gallery. I could do it.
This is something you could do. Otherwise, again, if
it's actually one of the few things in my skill set.
You have many skills. They just aren't necessarily like magician's assistant isn't something you're going to put on a resume.
I do put it on my resume
for most things. The things that you're doing is still fine.
Yeah, no, it's part of my author bio that just went out with my book that's on sub. It's like she was this, and I'm like, enjoy knowing that about me, editors at Penguin Random House.
Julia wants to know, why not put a book together? I'm assuming she means the two of you guys working together. You guys work on that, and then of course,
in our free time.
No, Jennifer and Tamara would have to arm wrestle or mud wrestle. Either way is fine.
I know. I would just
you guys can work on the newsletter. You guys go work on the newsletter.
Julia, I think she's agreeing now to write your newsletter. So Julia, you've just agreed to write Alistair and Tamara's newsletter.
Yeah.
So that'll
free up some time.
It's fine.
I'm only willing to work 1 hour a day after lunch, and I won't be on camera.
Right? Exactly. Yeah.
So everyone, Alistair's website, if you're watching the video, it's been scrolling down at the bottom of the screen the whole time. If you are just listening to the audio, Alistair, tell everybody where to haunt you. Oh yeah. Is it there? It is there.
Your website is literally just your name, Alistair Cross.
That's my name, alistaircross.com, and you can find everything, all the books, everything, the social media, everything, just do that.
And you post really good book reviews. I will say that. And you post them on Facebook, and I always enjoy it because you review books that aren't necessarily books that have just come out. You're reviewing like Rebecca, Haunting of Hill House. I'm just like, yes, thank you.
I like to do reviews on books that influence me, and there's a lot of them. And so that's kind of my, pay it back, I guess. I don't know.
Did you just recently, or maybe it was probably not so recently, a few months ago, do Bentley Little's The House? Was that you recently?
I did. Yeah.
I realized I had never read it, and I bought it because of you. I was like, and then I'm like, I want to buy like the vintage mass market paperback too, because I'm like, that's what I would have read it as. So I'm reading it now. It's open over there on my table.
It's a weird one, but it's Bentley Little, so weird and weird, good weird.
Exactly. So, Alistair, thank you so much for being here with us today. Everybody, get on the Vampires of Crimson Cove. Check out all of Alistair and Tamara's work that they co-write together. You are prolific, so if if they don't want to read a whole series, just grab something else.
Start with Sleep, Savannah, Sleep, and go from there.
I loved that. I kind of love that book. So thank you so much, Alistair, for being here. Thank you, Allison, for being here. Of course, we are taking a few weeks of a little respite, a little hiatus. We may be back before then, but we will be here in November with the one, the only Charlaine Harris. So we are, I know, like, so we're spending the next few weeks like binge reading her entire new series.
Right.
So thank you, everybody, and we will see you all in a few weeks. Bye.